With the use of the CBI, the computer-based instruction, the CMP program allows you to monitor where each student is at using the CBI computers. You can have students enrolled, or shall I say, logged into the system where they're performing tasks. So once again, I will go to the home page, and upon going to the home page, I'm going to click on CBI. At that point, the classroom management system is already linked over to each CBI computer, depending on how many students you have. And at that point, you can see the student name, the activity they're on, and at that point, how much time they already have in a certain activity. Now, you will be also able within the monitor to see which faults they actually are diagnosing or exercise they're on in the courseware within the CBI itself, and also see how well they did in the first attempt or the last attempt of certain activities in diagnosing and also resolving faults. So therefore, in other words, how well did they answer each specific question. So this is a great tool for either the instructor or the administrator that is monitoring a class, where he can sit here in front of the monitor and check the progress of each student within the activity monitor. The classroom management program, when linked and working with the CBI program, you can actually look at activity monitors. This can be found on page 39. Now, what I'm going to do, going back to the home page of the CMP system, I'm going to click on CBI, and at that point, I will click on Activity Monitor. Now, as you can see on the screen, the Activity Monitor allows us to observe or track the progress of each student that is in your class using the CBI computers at that point. They will be on a specific exercise or a specific task where they're assembling, or also figuring out or diagnosing faults that may have been embedded already in the system or you have done in the system. So in this case, this is a general overview of the time that a student has spent on a task and also how well they did in each, whether being their first attempt or their last attempt, as you can see on the screen, to evaluate where their progress is within the courseware of the CBI. While the student is using the CBI program, the computer-based instruction, the classroom management program allows the instructor or the administrator who's administering or instructing the class to go ahead and embed faults. So once again, we're going to go to CBI off the CMP main menu, and we'll click on Activity Monitor. Now, this all information can be found on page 40 to 42 of the manual. So again, 40 to 42, you can find this information on the manual. Now at this point, we have one student, which is Sam ATech at this point, and what we simply do is click on his name. So in other words, to send the fault, we must specifically, again, put the class or click on the check mark box that's next to the name itself. So I'm going to click on Send Faults. At this point, there are presets that can be made, and you can create a preset, but in this case, you'll notice there's already a list of presets that are already in here. Once again, you can create a preset and apply it at that point. But you can also use existing exercises that are already in the CBI itself. So in this case, I'm going to select 5, which is relay and circuit test light. And in this case, what I want to do is click on the schematic. And this is what's nice about using the actual training board, where the student will have an assembled circuit. And at that point, you can embed or insert these faults. You can notice right here, there's symbols, and these symbols will pretty much tell you what fault you're inserting, such as an open, a short to ground, another short to ground you can see here, or even high resistance fault there. So in this case, we'll pick the high resistance at that point, and you're going to see at the bottom here that there is a high resistance, and at that point, you can send the fault. In the event you want to add more faults for the student to actually diagnose and figure out within the circuit itself, you can add even more faults at this point. But at that point, we can send the fault, and therefore the student will be evaluated and pretty much using the activity monitor to monitor if they are able to actually figure out what the fault is in the circuit. Now, in the use of the CBI, once you have inserted a fault, the exercises have been completed within the courseware in the CBI itself, then at that point you're able to clear the faults. And this will make way for other faults that you may add in other exercises. But in this case, staying on the activity monitor, we just mentioned about send faults. At this point, we could click on clear remaining faults. And at that point, you'll notice on the top, I clicked it 3 times. You'll notice that the faults have been cleared for the SAM ATech. This will allow you to clear faults for one or other logins that might be within the CBI system. So please note, this can be independently done per student that is logged in within the CBI itself. The clearing faults can be found on page 43. In the event you have to remove a student from a class or remove them from the CBI program, We will go to the activity monitor within the CBI at that point. You're going to select a name, and what we're going to do is actually click on remove. The student is removed from the CBI program at that point. This can all be found on page 44. In the continued use of the Classroom Management Program, which is the CMP, and we were working with the CBI, which is the computer-based instructions, you can now look at progress reports. So we will click on progress reports, and pretty much a progress report is what it means, what we've done in education. In this case, what is the progress of that student? You'll notice we have Tech 1, Tech 2, Sam ATech, and Tony C. We can see where they are at in their progress in the courses or the course usage of the CBI. You will notice that Sam ATech is actually connected live. We have only one CBI connected, but what we're trying to simulate here is that Sam ATech is currently at that 2.2.1, and in this case, you're going to see whether he has done any quizzes or not. In this case, we'll see that Tech 1 and Tech 2, along with Tony C, you're going to notice that there have been no attempts because they're not logged in at this time into the CBI. At this point, we're going to see the quiz, and Sam got 57%. In the last attempt, he also got 57% of score in that exercise in 2.2.1. At that point, we'll be able to see what his troubleshooting has done. He's done 0 of 8, which is there are 8, and in this case, in other words, he's gotten 0 of 8. And also, we've seen if he's taken any exams or any of those students that may be in the list. Please note, this is a fictitious list of technicians. So if your class has more than 10 to 20 or however many are in your class that are using the CBI instructions, you'll be able to evaluate where they're at this point. So again, this is a progress report, and the instructor or the administrator who's using the CMP can check to see where the students are at in their progress in the usage of the CBI instruction. All information on the use of progress report within the CMP can be found on page 45 of the CMP manual. Now, in progress reports, the instructor or the administrator is able to watch the progress. So since Sam ATech is the student that's actually in the program at this time using the CBI, for demonstration purposes that is, you're going to find the list of activities that are available for Sam to be taken. So I'm going to select the first category, which is electrical components. And you will notice the long list of exercises that are within the electrical components. We'll call it a chapter for demonstration purposes. But in this case, we can see electrical circuit, and finally we can evaluate or see what Sam actually had answered. So this is something the instructor can use to know where Sam is answering correctly or incorrectly. Now, please note, this is a good tool for the instructor to use, or maybe he can evaluate the progress of various different students and know if they're answering incorrectly. In other words, let's say you have 5 students in the class that are taking CBI and they all answered this question 1.1.3 the same way. In other words, answered incorrectly. This will allow you, the instructor, to say, hey, I need to review this with the students because they're all answering incorrectly and the same answer sometimes. So what's nice or what's very helpful for the instructor is to know where the student is at in terms of their activities, and also what are the answers. If they're answering incorrectly, I can use this to find out, what is it they're not understanding in the electrical courseware that they're taking here with the ATech CBI trainer. So once again, please use this to evaluate where the students are at. Now, I just showed you one category that Sam ATech has been taking, so there could be more. Going back to the beginning, once again, repeating, you're going to see, once again, the activity progress, and then there could be voltage, current meter, and series circuit. At that point, we could see how Sam answered for this and see what's going on. So you'll notice the diagrams there that are available. That is all part of the CBI system that makes your teaching a little bit easier by using these animations, as you can see, as well as what they answered. So once again, this is all found in the progress reports under the student progress that we're looking at here, for Sam ATech in this case. So useful tool, definitely use it. All this information that I just explained in the evaluation or monitoring the progress reports can be found between page 46 and 47. In the continuing evaluating or what's available in progress reports, we're now going to look at his quizzes or his pretty much his exams that he may have taken. So we're going to click on the quiz section where it says first attempt and last attempt for Sam ATech. I will go ahead and click on this, and you're going to see an overall view of all the activities. or the subjects that were in this section of CBI, and you'll notice here that he has had 15 attempts, and in this case we see 0 attempts here. But I'm going to click on the electrical components, and you're going to see a breakdown of all the different exercises and quizzes, you can say, that have been questions that need to be answered here. So you'll notice under electrical circuit question we saw failed. There were 2 attempts. In this case, we see also, for example, on 1.4.2 power source current flow question, we saw that he actually failed after 1 attempt. But Sam did okay too. You'll notice that he actually passed in power source loads, load 360 ohm, or build a circuit. So this allows you, as I scroll down here, to view Sam's progress and how well he's doing in all the various sections, and also to address those weak areas that Sam or any other student that might be in the class, to know where they're weak in, and in other words, identify their strengths and their weaknesses. So again, an overall view of where they are in the progress of taking that course in CBI. You can find information on how to use this portion of the progress report on page 48 to 50. As we have mentioned, with the use of the CBI does work with the training board, which in this case is the 1810. The student or the technician, whoever is attending, taking this course, is going to be troubleshooting circuits. So if we click on the progress reports once again and we look under troubleshoot, once again, Sam ATech is the only student I have at this time attending, so I'm going to click on troubleshooting. This is an enhanced look at where is Sam doing when he's doing the faults that are given to him in that board within the CBI. So you will notice that there is a, number 16 is motor short to ground, and in this case, you're going to see what his answer was. He concluded that the fault was, again, high resistance, which was incorrect. That's why we see an X next to it. Now, Sam actually intently pretty much answered incorrectly, just for you to demonstrate how you can identify what answers that Sam is giving, or the prospective student that you're looking at on the progress reports at this time. So please note, as we scroll down here, you'll know the time and date, and in this case you're going to see on his troubleshooting the answer was exercise number 8. In this case we saw there's a 3-way switch short to voltage, but he answered 3-way switch open. So again, you can use this as an instructor to identify, once again, what tests in their troubleshooting that you're trying to establish troubleshooting skills, in this case, where they answered incorrectly. So this is another, again, a useful tool to give you more detailed information on where they are either excelling or they're actually failing in prospective electrical testing on various different circuits, which are found, once again, in the CBI instruction using the 1810 board. This information within the progress report on troubleshooting details can be found on page 51. In the continued use of the progress reports, an instructor might find themselves with students that are using the CBI instructions with the boards themselves. You're going to find that some may go through the exercises rather quickly and some slowly, and you can actually have an advanced student actually go too far ahead, more than what you want for the day or for the week, whatever it might be. So one of the things you can do actually is you can block or restrict activity. So as I look at the progress report here on the screen, we're going to see restrict activity, and I'm going to check, first of all, Sam ATech, and I'm selecting that prospective student. You can select more than one if you so choose, if not all. And at this point, I'm going to restrict activity to, and upon clicking that, you're going to see the various sections in the CBI. This will require you, the instructor administrator, to know what each section is. So we saw Sam at, if we go back a second, you'll see he was at 2.21. So if I want to restrict Sam any further, obviously I would scroll down and maybe I'll let Sam go to 2.6.1, for example, or wherever. But again, you as the instructor administrator need to know all the different sections within the CBI to know what section is each and what it actually encompasses. At that point, you can apply it, and therefore Sam will at that point be restricted up to that point, which you can see right here all the way to 2.6.1 on the progress reports. This information within the progress reports can be found between page 52 and 53. In the event that the instructor administrator finds himself where he's going to choose what exams he wants the student to be locked out or actually locked in, meaning that can he take certain exams? Because remember, the CBI will show a list. So if we look at the screen here of CBI, we're going to see that Currently, this student, Tony C., for example, is got access to electrical components, all the different sections. However, though, you're going to see that his exam is locked. So going back to my CMP, I am going to go over down to the CBI, and at that point, I'm going to go to Progress Reports. And at that point, I'll be able, under bulk actions here under Progress Reports, I'll be able to unlock or lock the ability for the prospective student, whether it be in Sam ATech as an example or Tony C, I can unlock or lock an exam. So it's simple as clicking unlock exam, but you're going to have to pick which exam you're actually referring to. So in this case, please note, you as the instructor administrator need to know which each one of these numbers represents, meaning what exam or test you are looking at. So that's something you're going to have on hand to know which one's which. At that point, I'm selecting a simple one, which is 5 in this case, exam number 5. And at that point, I could apply to that prospective student. Now, you'll notice it won't let me for the simple fact that I haven't chosen a group of students or a student. So in this case, we're going to pick Tony C. And at that point, we're going to lock him out of, again, the examination, which is 5. I'll go ahead and apply it. And you'll notice it has been verified there with the bar on the top. So therefore, you can do that. Now, at the same time, we can also, not at the same time, but what another thing you can do is you can unlock an exam. So in this case, we had, like you saw on the previous screen, we saw that Tony was actually locked out of some exams. So in this case, let's say I have him locked in exam number 3 or 4. I can go ahead and click on that prospective exam, and at that point, I can allow him to take that exam. So you'll notice it confirms on the top with the bar graph or bar chart right there. It's going to show you that he is now unlocked to that exam. So this is a good useful tool when you want to restrict how fast a student may go in your class. So therefore you can unlock or lock an exam. All this information on locking and unlocking an exam can be found in your manual on page 53 and 54. In CBI, you can monitor students' progress, but you could also create reports. So off the home page, off the CMP, we're going to click on CBI. We're going to go to the bottom choice here, which is Response Reports. Under Response Reports, we're able to see the students that are enrolled in different activities or different classes as well. And as also noted, the student ID is also entered as well. So it's a complete, pretty much what's going on with each student. In other words, what students are in which classes and what exercises they're on, and also how well they have answered and the time that is spent. So please note every category that's actually illustrated here in this response report section. Again, the date, instruction set, the activity, the class, the ID number, the student name, question type, question, and answer. So again, this is probably the nicest thing that's available for you in order to evaluate the progress of each student as they're taking the curriculum or the courseware. Now, you can go ahead and generate reports using the information provided that has been accumulated in time as students progress using the courseware. You can actually sort it, and I would like to use the word sort, but there's also the other sorting here on this side. So again, you can go by date, and you can also go, well, look at the whole drop-down menu. You have various different categories to actually sort it out. So one thing is to sort it out, another thing is to filter, but please note, let's say you want to put them all in alphabetical order or which date they started certain exercises or activities, as noted here, all explained here on the actual drop-down menu. But again, if we click on Add Filter, what do you want to filter by the report? At that point, you can pick the date, the activity, the class, and student ID number. Now, all this information and the use of response reports can be found on page 54 through 59. Once again, there are many drop-down menus where you can filter it by, but also what you can sort it by. Once it's sorted or filtered the way you desire, depending by date or by student, whatever exercise it might be, or activity as stated, you can export it. So on the bottom left, you will note that there is the ability to export to an XLX file, which is an Excel spreadsheet type of file. So this will allow for a report to be digitally used or actually printed so to provide for a report. So again, this is a response report section, which allows you once again to filter or sort by different activities or dates, as we noted in the drop-down menus.